Let's talk now, though, to Robert Jobson, author of Our King, Charles III, The Man and the Monarchy Revealed, because, of course, here we are with Robert Jobson speaking to us right now. Robert, very good morning to you. Afternoon, I should say.
Hi, Mike.
So, I suppose my first question is, has Harry's attempt at kind of his public rehabilitation worked? You know, we saw him doing what was quite a nice thing when he came over to do the children's charity in London, again without his missus. Last night we saw that he wasn't very good at football. We'll play that video in a minute. But you know, I presume he's gone back home. Has he rehabilitated himself in the eyes of his fans? What do you think?
Well, both of those causes, well, child, and of course what he's doing with the Invictus Games, are fantastic, and what they do for people that are benefiting should be lauded. I don't know if he's necessarily won over the general public. I mean, if he'd been doing what he was doing then and been part of the royal family, I'm sure all the papers would have been all over him saying what a wonderful guy he is. But as you know, he continues to sue newspapers and take them on, of course they're going to write pretty negative things about him. So personally, I think what he just did was good. I thought him sort of getting his speech in before allowing his dad to make comments about the late Queen was just, maybe it was to do with timing, but it looked a bit wrong. And also he was, you know, bringing in JFK and speech, a thing that Prince William's used in a way for his Earthshot Prize. So look, I don't know, there's always going to be issues you can pick holes in, but I think he did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting when he was in London where he said that, you know, he knows that his gran was looking down on him and knowing that she would want them all to be together, which had a kind of irony to it, considering the people he wasn't together with was his own family.
Well, yeah, I mean, also he knew the timing was going to be that he was going to be on the front pages the next day with what he was saying, and of course there was a lot of embargoes and organisation behind the scenes, an order to things that the palace set up involving the King and Prince William, that in a way sort of got blown out of the way. But, you know, look, it's not his fault that those awards took place when they did.
No, quite. Let's have a look at his football prowess, though, because the Sun today have got a spread saying Hazard's no Gaza. And this is Prince Harry trying to take a shot at putting a football through 3 holes on a TV show. Here we go.
Vielleicht das noch ein bisschen rüberschieben.
You get it.
Und wir brauchen den Support. Okay. Fest war der erste Schuss.
Nowhere near for the second. Let's see if the third one gets any closer.
Oh!
A bit closer, but still no cigar.
Yes! That was close.
Yeah, that was close, as they say. Well, I mean, I know, Robert, you would have done better than that, but then, you know, you were a very good footballer.
Well, Mike. I mean, I've seen you play a few years ago. I know it would have gone straight in the top corner as those 5 times used to happen. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, he's bringing good awareness to those the servicemen and women that have fought around the world and have served around the world, and I think that's great. I just think that I hope that Invictus gets the money that it needs and can continue to do the good it does. I mean, I think with him, he's got to keep his public position and public awareness up, profile up for that to happen. But he does a great deal of job. And I travelled all the way to Australia, I remember before one of the games there, and saw exactly what was going on behind the scenes. He seems to have forgotten, actually, that the press were very much behind him on this cause, and
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because that's
reinvented the wheel on it again, saying nobody wrote about the causes.
Well, it's the same as that ridiculous interview he gave about, or the speech he gave on the documentary series, where he claimed that the British media didn't help him at all. Sun pointed out that they'd raised 370 million through Help for Heroes. Also said that it wasn't the British media that had revealed where he was in Afghanistan. It was actually the Drudge Report. You know, he just keeps getting things wrong. But I think it shows now that there's not a lot of sympathy for him. You know, he has to try an awful lot harder to get decent press. And when I watched the Mike Tyndall podcast recording, where they've got, you know, Kate and Princess Anne and William, I'm thinking to myself, you know, Meghan's going to be sitting there watching that going, damn, what can we do now? What can we do about that? Because now they're doing a podcast.
Well, funnily enough, actually, Mike, I think when he's not with Meghan on these trips, he looks a little bit more relaxed, Harry. And there he was, although, you know, I think people warm to him as a person. They don't necessarily warm to Meghan for whatever reason. And when these together, it gets a bit more tense. But yeah, I thought that podcast by William and Kate and Anne with Mike Tyndall was fabulous. I thought it was quite revealing about Kate, actually, all this cold water swimming and and beer ping pong, you know. And I thought it was, but she does actually perform very well in those circumstances. She's much more candid and open in a group conversation like that than she is on a one-to-one interview, and always does actually come up with some headline stuff.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Because she does everything kind of right, as it should be being done. And I know there'll be people who say, oh, you just say that because you hate Meghan. I don't hate Meghan Markle. I honestly couldn't care less about her one way or the other. But what she never understood about being part of the royal family was that there is a certain kind of protocol, there is a certain etiquette. And Kate kind of personifies that. You know, pictures of her this morning in the papers, you know, meeting rugby players at the England game, and you know, just doing it all in a way which is not wrong. Whereas Meghan, sort of, whenever she does something, just always looks like it's not quite right.
I mean, Meghan's done an awful lot of good. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I do think that the bottom line comes down to the monetarisation of your position, which I think that Meghan couldn't quite understand when she arrived on the scene in the UK, and you know, and she didn't really understand the hierarchy either. That, you know, Harry was in a pretty small college and William was in a bigger place. But if she'd been a bit more patient, I think actually everything would have fallen into place. But there was a bit of a rush on. Unfortunately, you know, sadly, a year ago the Queen passed away, and everything then has fallen into place and would have done for them in terms of what, you know, their position as well. And I just think they needed a little bit more patience, and Harry needed to be a little bit less anxious about everything that was going on.
Yeah, absolutely right. Just to move on to another story involving the royal family, we're told over the weekend that Caribbean nations are going to make formal demands to the royal family about slavery reparations by the end of this year. Now, King Charles has already sort of indicated that he has some sympathy, doesn't he, with some of these claims. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, the King has said that there should be some research into this matter, academic research, which he has given the go-ahead for. But once you've done that, really, you've opened the door. What I would say is that the Commonwealth as a whole has pumped a lot of money, and the UK, into a lot of these, the Caribbean and the West Indies over the years. It really has, millions and millions of pounds. But I do believe that before you can start paying the reparations, you've really got to work out who's going to get the money. I mean, and I think also there needs to be a bit more, you know, is it just going to go straight into a government and their government sort out where the money goes, or shouldn't it be paid to people that, you know, are related specifically to slaves that are owned by particular families, etc., which is a very delicate issue. But personally, I think that there should be reparation and there should be an apology. It's very difficult then to start apologising, you know, for everything that happened during the British Empire. But in particular, you know, fortunes were made on the back of slavery to people in the United Kingdom, big aristocratic families, including the royal family, and we're talking billions of pounds. So I think that there should be some reparation, yeah.
But as you say, it's difficult to work out where that money should go, because the last thing you want to do is give it to a government, because if a government gets it, they'll just waste it. I mean, that Laura Trevelyan case, she's the BBC journalist who decided that, you know, out of the goodness of her heart, that she'd give 100,000 quid to the poor people of the Caribbean, despite the fact that her family's worth an awful lot more than that. And it seems like tokenism, and I worry that if the King Charles sort of house decides to pay some money, that will be seen as tokenism, no matter what it is.
Well, Mike, you're caught between the devil and the people who've seen. The reality is what went on with slavery was abhorrent, and the fact that millions of people, you know, millions of people were enslaved, and that led to people becoming effectively billionaires is wrong. But the reality is you've got to get all the right boxes in terms of where and how this money should be repaid. I agree. I think giving it to governments, you know, where's it going to go? Who's it going to go to, for starters? But I think that there is a case for reparation, but there needs to be an awful lot of research and a lot of care taken as to what is done. And the problem will be, number one, it'll be seen as tokenism, and number two, once the tap is on, there'll be demands for it to just be kept on. And I think there needs to be some sort of formal body set up to work out how to deal with it.
And presumably it will have to come out of any private funds that the royal family has, because I don't think the British public would be paying out taxpayers' money.
Exactly right. It'll have to come out of private money, and there is an awful lot of private money. The royal family don't, despite what we're told in various ways, they're one of the richest families in the world. But, the issue here is, of course, is for many, many years, through the Commonwealth and through it being around, a lot of these nations have been given millions and millions of pounds. But this is a quite separate issue. It's to do with enslavement. Remember that those slave owners in the Caribbean and the West Indies, when the slavery was abolished, were paid compensation. They were paid something in the region, I think, they were paid per slave they had. Yeah. And they were paid hundreds of thousands of pounds then, which is worth millions now. So that needs to be worked out what it is. But, I mean, they were compensated as owners, as it were, which sounds, again, abhorrent that you can even say that. But the fact is they were given money. Therefore, surely those families should do something.
Yeah, indeed. Robert, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Robert Jobson's author of Our King Charles III, The Man and the Monarch Revealed. He might have to do an extra chapter if Charles decides to start paying people off because of slavery. I'm not sure that's a good road to go down. In fact, I'm pretty certain it isn't.